about the economy. I want to talk about real estate. I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen to real estate, because I think we're moving into sort of a new dynamics in real estate, and I want to kind of walk you through that. I'm going to talk about who's really controlling valuation in the real estate market, what's going to happen. Talk a little bit about your markets. I think first the economy, look, it's getting better. There are green shoots out there. I think that last year when you look at it, we were in free fall, and basically nobody knew where it was going. And when you look back at July, August, and September, and you remember Lehman Brothers, we were at a real critical point. The stock market went down 1,000 points. Basically, credit stopped around the world. We've sort of been digging our way out ever since. But I think now here's where we are. We sort of went over the cliff. We were falling. We grabbed onto a rock now, and we're sort of hanging on there. So you're going to begin to see some stability. We still have declines in a lot of areas, but the declines are getting smaller, and I think there's some good things out there. So let's talk about the good things first. Well, one of the first good things would obviously be the stock market, because you know the stock market was at 14,000 last July. Basically, we lost almost half of that. We started the year at about 8,000 on the Dow. We slipped below 7,000. And right now, the Dow is basically averaging about 9,200, 9,500. And so that means that basically we have some stability in the Dow now. People are coming back into the market. Second quarter earnings looked a little bit better than they thought, even though that's from downsizing basically and keeping productivity up and basically making sure inventories are low. It's shown that companies can rebound and look better than they thought, so that's a good thing. I think people are willing to come back into the stock market now. They're willing to buy stocks again. And so we've seen the stock market sort of stabilize. I think it's going to stay there for a while. I think we're not going to basically see it surge up again, because we've gained almost about 36% just since the beginning of the year. So we've grunted back some of that 50-55% that we lost. I think when you look at what was going to happen with basically the stock market, maybe we're into what they call a W, which means we were way up here, we fell way down, we've sort of come halfway back. We may dip a little bit in the summer here. September's always a bad month for stocks, but it'll go down a little, up a little, so I don't think it's going to be tremendous. And then I think we'll start to push our way back up. We'll see a Dow 14,000 again, I'm sure we will, but probably not within the next couple of years. But the stock market seems at least to have basically settled a little bit. I think when you look at mortgage rates, you were talking about those today, and they certainly are mellow and have been better. You notice what we're waffling. We were at basically 2.2% on the 10-year bond about 2-3 months ago. Mr. Bernanke cannot go back to that. He can't keep it there. Everybody says, gee, why can't he bring it back to 2.2%? Because it's out of his hands. He's at zero already on interest rates. He's poured money in the economy. He's buying $1.5 trillion of mortgage-backed securities. He's buying $600 billion worth of T-bills. So he's done his part. What's happening is when people go back in the stock market, what happens is they basically run away from the bond market. And so basically what happens is the price of bonds basically goes down and interest rates go up. The other thing is we're a debtor nation. You know that we basically need billions of dollars in order to support our economy, going to trillions. And so we have to basically sell our debt. And when you sell it and you put it out there through these auctions they have continuously, the world doesn't want to buy it at a 2.2% return. The minute we get up to 3.4, 3.5, they're much more appealing, and basically then they come in and they'll buy it. So we have to keep our interest rate up a little bit, because they just won't buy our debt, and we need it. So I think you're going to see mortgage rates where they are. I've said this repeatedly, slap these buyers, because these people that are waiting for it to go down again, look, they missed the train, it left the station, this is it. And if the government, and what you heard today on conforming, is willing to give you a loan for slightly over 5%, these people need to understand at 30 years, that's a gift. Shut up, just sign on the dotted line and don't worry about it. My God, it's like a free gift. What I also think is going to happen is, look, lowest rates in 38 years, basically. Show them. Go back to 1980. We were paying 14% on average on interest rates. In 1990, we paid 10% and thought we died and went to heaven. In the year 2000, we were basically at 7-8%, and even last year we were in the 6s. So these people have a gift, and the clock is ticking. Let's plunk out what's going to happen. Watch Mr. Bernanke, because you know he's been reappointed the fair chairman. Nice for him. Poor guy, why he wants that job, I have no clue, but I guess he must need a job. I guess he's afraid he'll join the unemployment rate, so he figured he'd better grab it. Anyway, Mr. Bernanke, watch what he says. He talks about, I'm going to keep interest rates low as long as I can. I'm going to pour money into the economy. Of course he is, but watch the minutes now. Because one of the things he keeps talking about is this exit strategy, which is a politically correct, beautifully packaged word, which means is I got to get all the hell of this money out of this economy, and when I do it, I go, and I take it back, guess what's going to happen? We are going to have some inflation. So it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. So plunk it out, he'll keep it low as long as he can, probably into the middle of 2010, and then I think he's going to start to raise interest rates. And when he does that, you're going to see mortgage rates go up, and it wouldn't surprise me by 2011, if they can control it, it'll maybe be at 6-7%. If they can't, you could see interest rates from 7 to 9%. So you need to tell these people they have a window, and that window is closing every day that they do not get in with the program and realize affordability is better than it's ever been, low interest rates. My God, they have opportunities to negotiate in this market that they've never had. So if you had told them, what's the perfect market that makes you a buyer? Affordability, low interest rates, and prices that are wonderful. So hello, you got that market, so get with the program. So we know that mortgage rates probably going to stay where they are, vacillate a little bit up and down, but basically probably through this year, a little bit into the next, you're pretty safe with interest rates. I think oil, look, was $147 a barrel last July, basically come down half of that. We don't like where it is, it's still too high, but it's a lot better. That's another green shoot for this economy. Productivity is still positive. GDP was only down 1% in the last quarter, the second quarter. First quarter it was down 6.4%. They're telling us that probably third and fourth quarter we may get to break even and even to positive territory. We'll still end the year negative, but that's a good thing because it means that we're moving in the right direction. So I think when you look at the economy, look, it's not great yet. What are the downsides? We do have some downshoots. One obviously is unemployment. Unemployment at 9.4%, that's a vision in somebody's mind, all right? Because when you really add everything in, we're probably at 13% unemployment. In California, 11.5%. The number's going to get worse before it gets better. You can expect that national number on their round to basically hit probably 10.5%. Over here, we're probably going to go up another percent to probably 12.5%. I think as you move into next year, you'll see that number get better. It depends where you are around the nation. You have areas that are as low as 5-6%, and we have areas in Southern California basically as high as 20-21%. Probably Santa Clara County, we're at about 9-10%. Probably when you go into San Mateo, San Francisco, they're at about 8-9%. Alameda, Contra Costa could be at 10-11%. So it depends where you are, what's happening, but unemployment is a lagging indicator, which means that we got to get out of this recession first. Unemployment follows. Here's the key. When is it going to be over? Well, we can say, and they're saying already, gee, we're out of this recession. I don't know if we're out of this recession. I think it's still fragile yet. But let's assume by the end of the year, early 2010, we get out of this recession. Let's talk about what kind of a recovery it's going to be, because that's the next thing. We're going to get through this recession. That's not the biggest deal. The biggest deal is what kind of a recovery is it going to be. I think it's going to be a mild recovery. I don't think we're going to be on all cylinders. I think it'll be decent but mild, and that's going to affect what's going to happen to the housing market. It's going to affect all kinds of things, because we're not probably going back right away to 4 or 5% growth. I think we're going to see growth next year in the 2-2.5% range. So mild recovery. The other big question is these people, when they come back and they get jobs, the biggest question I think is not will we have jobs again, of course we will, but what kind of jobs can they replace the jobs they've lost? Because if it's been basically financial and the high wager earners that have been hit a lot, the 100,000 plus people, when they go back into this environment, can they find those same jobs? I think eventually they can when they get the biotechs up and some of these others, the green industries up, but that's a process and it's going to take time. So I think that it's going to be a mild recovery. Now I want to spend a minute talking about real estate, because I think that we're not just going through a recession. I think it's more than a recession that we're going through. I think we're having an economic revolution, not only here, but basically around the world. And I think if you look back, and let's talk about what's been the underpinnings of the economics that we've lived with. Obviously 100% capitalism, leverage and risk, entrepreneurship, all of those things have sort of guided our economies over the last couple of 100 years. And we keep having these revolutions in the economy that are different than recessions, because recessions will always come and go, because economies are moving entities, and you have periods when they blossom and periods when they go down, just like the real estate market. But you have things that hit economies that totally change what happens to them. So I guess we could say that the first thing that we can remember that happens was basically we were an agrarian culture here in society, and then the railroads came and that connected America and brought us very different. Then people moved into the inner cities, and we had mass manufacturing and mass production, which made a whole level of middle class that we never had before. And we obviously have had the internet, which changed us and basically connected us around the world, and everything we do now, think, eat, live, and everything we know and know about everybody. We know too much about everybody now. And so we know that that changed the world. So here's what I think has happened that has made this one a revolution. If you go back and you look at this last decade, we have had an enormous amount of volatility in this decade, probably too much that the powers that be probably would like to have. So what has happened in less than 10 years? Well, we